Hi. Welcome to Grim Year Wednesdays, hosted by me, Quiet Year Records, Grimalkin Records, and Rumblepak. We're talking with some creative people and people in the industry about what they're up to, and also raise money for Virginia Anti-Violence Project, who works with LGBTQ people in Virginia and marginalized groups, touching on like violence within and against marginalized people. Yeah, so they do a lot of great work. You can donate anytime you want. You can donate multiple times. You can become a recurring donor even. And so they're there and they're a really great resource. But I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of great things going on. So today we have Manny from Citrus City and Underground Orchard. Hi Manny, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Judy?
I'm good. I just ate and y'all watched me do that. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing well, all things considered.
That's true. That
Yeah.
is fair. Um, is this your first Zoom interview?
Uh yeah, it's the first one I would say. I did one on like FaceTime, uh but yeah, this is the first Zoom one. That's why I'm still like I don't know how to use Zoom.
Yeah. No, I mean every week has been uh really, really difficult and I don't know. It's been really weird and there needs to be like if this is gonna be like the thing from now on for like shit to be on like video, um, there needs I can't keep doing this every week. Like it's just so inaccessible and trying to make all the tech stuff happen. Like unless I have like
Like a
I don't
tech
know,
person.
yeah, like a tech person or am a tech person. Like this is like so hard. I mean, there's definitely lots of other ways like Instagram and like YouTube Live and stuff like that. But I still don't think I don't know. Maybe it could be better.
I can send you, I guess, just like I know the little helpful info that we were, because I was like helping run the Baby's All Right TV thing, like how to like,
Cool.
because I was moderating some shows for a bit, and I'm pretty sure I got sent like a whole like document of like how to do things. I can maybe pass that along to you, and like if anything asks like, hey, do y'all like, what are like the best sort of to help videos or guides to, because I'm not a tech person, but I know Greg, who made the site, isn't, and they kind of learn through like YouTube videos. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so I
Wait,
feel
that's so
like
sweet.
so I feel like there should be some good videos of people like breaking it down at least.
Yeah. Yeah, because it makes sense that I think that like groups that have been kind of doing this longer who have teams and those kinds of resources are able to kind of seamlessly transition over into like virtual gigs and stuff like that. How was that doing the babies all right? Or actually, could you tell us like exactly what that was? Because I remember seeing it, but it's been a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. So the Babies TV is so they do these virtual sort of just shows in the comfort of like the artist's home. Sometimes they have like one artist, or they'll have like um several sort of bills, and the monetary focus is was going to the the employee relief fund, and then the other was going to like make the road. And they do a lot of like immigration reform work, and just like a lot of like outreach with like just migrant communities in New York. um so yes, it was just like a way to just sort of keep some sort of thing going, and like reschedule like shows that were going to be in person like virtually. Um, so far it seems like, well, not seems, there've been some really cool ones and stuff, and I know they do sometimes like cooking things and like poetry readings, and I think there's like Sunday yoga. I think that's still going on. So I guess any sort of things to just kind of connect people.
Mm. And not that that wasn't happening before everything started closing down, but what kinds of things that do you think Well, actually, I was gonna ask a question that you pretty much just answered. I was gonna say like what kinds of like new trends have emerged from that, but you like you said, there's been events like yoga and I don't know, people brunching together and stuff like that. Those connections have always been happening, but now people seem to be kind of opening up what like shows mean and what like events happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think you actually just did like a what's it called? A video with Pitchfork about what you've been listening to and
Yeah.
recommendations. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that necessarily would have happened like a handful of months ago.
Yeah, if I have to be honest, I mean, even with it, I think it's just since we're all not able to like hang out, or there's not like a tangible sort of like face to face as much as before. I think people are just kind of really yearning that, or just kind of, seeing a random like face on someone's Instagram. Like, there's a lot of people are now allowing like Instagram takeovers more than like before, and like there's so many, that's becoming just a new way of like connecting and like sharing information or like music or anything. So it's been interesting to see that like happening a lot regularly now.
Definitely. Do you think that that's changed how you've had to work with Citrus City and Underground Orchard?
Yeah, so with these last few months, I haven't been using the Underground Orchard page as much as I'm going to now, just because I was just so overwhelmed with like the financial like cripplings of like, the virus and everything like stopped. So I was just like, like, at first I just didn't think about anything like how to use media wise, but I think more so now it's just trying to like at least um help out the artists that are on like the label and on Underground Orchard, get some sort of like um I guess like financial like, stability, or at least some financial like income coming in with something. So it's like Underground Orchard deals with more on like the booking side of things. So trying to like now like um do some like maybe like a virtual show here or there with like, some of the folks on that to get some like direct income on their way, or with like the label um allowing like people to kind of take over. At the beginning we had like people do like online release shows on the Instagram, since shows and everything aren't able to happen. So like slowly trying
Mhm.
to integrate things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I'm glad that you bring up trying to get money into artists' pockets because I mean I think the buzz lately has been about mutual aid. Actually, something I was thinking about earlier because I had a conversation with a friend about the difference between people who call it charity and mutual aid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I'm thinking about you and I who run businesses kind of like where do we like what's our role in all of this in trying to be people who participate in mutual aid and make that like part of our lifestyles but also work under capitalism
Yeah.
and are trying to sell stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something, at least now, I've like really been trying to think about on like and what I really like with like what Nancy does with like Grimalkin is how trying to like, well, at least for me, I've just kind of been working on my budget, whether it's like my like personal finances, where it's like, okay, because I was talking um with like Renee, and we were just like talking about how like we don't, well, at least with I don't want to get in the habit of just hoarding unemployment money, because while this is like such like a first time where like um there's like money being directed in like a consistent manner, which at least in my lifetime, I feel like this has never like, in our lifetime this has never happened. But then I'm also aware that I can financially like budget it in a way where I can fit like giving reoccurring donations within like my means and like my own means. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
transition the label into doing that, where it's like if I really plan things ahead of like, if um it costs me, let's say, like around $250 to like make, get the materials to make tapes and stuff, since I mostly do them at home right now. Um, then if I can figure out a way where I can make that back, and then not only have some extra where it's like it doesn't realistically this amount I already made back from like this, I can go back into facilitating more tapes, and I can give to an organization and build like just like a genuine relationship moving forward to sort of like assist. And then as things grow, I want to like increase the amount. Right now it's only like $2, but like I want to like also find ways to like continue using that, I guess, sort of like platform and like brand to like help facilitate like financial things for like folks that need it.
Yeah, definitely. Although I do think that even if it's just $2 at a time, the fact that it's stable is very meaningful. Like you said, the fact that it's stable and like reliable and comes every week, like that in itself is a big relief. And so I'm sure that would be the same for organizations and people as well. Hence why I keep bringing up that it might be a good idea to become a recurring donor for
Mm-hmm.
VAVP, because that kind of funding is just, I mean, I think everybody can empathize with wanting stability.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think definitely lately the question of what is stability and like what is your bare minimum, I think
Yeah.
has been on people's minds a lot. And so, I mean, as you're reworking kind of your business models and ethics on how you do things for Citrus City, what are some things that you've been like grappling with?
I think it's just trying to like what is like, I guess, a way where, because I really my main focus with Citrus City is getting like financial income directly into like the artist. So it's just like trying to figure out where how I can, because I feel like at least with Citrus City, I'm in this middle ground where I'm like I can see this becoming financially like stable and more, but then how can I really do things in a manner, in a genuine and ethical manner, where I'm not like, for lack of a better word, just like selling out or like doing something that just for the money. Like I want to like do things for the right, like any financial opportunities for like that match up with like my like ideals, to then trickle it down consistently for like just the artists I'm working with in general. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way to sort of start incorporating these like infrastructures, which are really like connected with really shady things, but doing it in a way where it's like an honest like manner. I don't know. I'm just really trying to figure out what is like the next step going forward to like making this into like a like full-time thing. I don't know if
Yeah.
that really answered your question.
No, no, it does. I mean, I think you bring up a lot of interesting points in that um, it sounds like your main focus and your role in working with artists is to support them and to get money into their pockets. And I hear you talk less about what you need,
Oh, about like
also as a
myself. Yeah.
person. And like,
Yeah.
that's like, that's also important too, also, because you're not a person who, you're not a trust fund baby, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, there's that idea of having that kind of relationship with artists, but you also putting in work. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of like a long standing debate, because I mean, it comes up a lot when it
Hmm.
comes to artists getting fucked over by their labels, and I guess more rarely, I would say, but the other way around too, where the label gets fucked over by the artist.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I feel like when labels get fucked over, it's because the artist did something really messed up. But then for labels to fuck up with artists, it could be anything, and I think the repercussions are a lot worse.
Yeah, I think the most recent one was with like Tiny Engines. I don't know if you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and how a lot of that just I'm gonna take out my dog real quick.
Are you
Sorry.
serious? It's okay.
Sorry. Um,
Could you just though what could I see the dog?
oh yeah, this is Rocco. Hold up.
Hi.
This is Rocco. Yeah, he's 5 years old. I've had him since he was a puppy.
Oh
Hold up.
my
Yeah.
god, so
Sorry,
cute.
y'all. Let's see, gotta text my neighbors because they have a dog. Sorry.
I'm just gonna take this second to say that if anybody wants to there's a chat room on the side. I forgot to say earlier that if anybody wants to like ask questions or interact, that's cool too. Oh my god, I want
But
a
yeah,
dog
that's
so bad.
Rocco.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. He's
No,
just
I
like,
love
I
dogs
gotta
so
go.
much. I love dogs so much. Like it's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you for that. What were we talking about? We were talking about something serious too.
Tiny engines and
Tiny
how,
engines. Yeah.
yeah, how they like weren't um paying their artists like the like streaming like royalties and like things on the timely manner, and I think
Hmm.
they were just prioritizing other acts than others, and I think I don't know, it's just like that was like the reoccurring like sentiments that I was seeing from folks on that label.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, they have not. I don't from I don't see that they've like made an apology or like just. I think that it's just kind of RIP now.
I mean, last I heard, it's like when it happened, artists were definitely vocal about it, but then how to proceed at the time seemed to be legal action, and then all the courts closed.
Mm,
Yeah. So I mean that's definitely a really difficult position to be in. And also if you lose your job, how are you gonna get a lawyer?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And labels usually I would say it's pretty typical for like bigger labels to have some sort of like legal representation or some sort of like lawyer type person on hand because I mean especially dealing with contracts like you need a legal person to handle that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely difficult.
No, yeah, but I think about that too, where it's like when it gets to the point, when can you like, when does it get to the point where you can compensate like yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, no, I definitely agree. I will, and it's something that I definitely am just like, you know, there was like maybe like once that I needed like a gas money when I was in college, and I was like, dang, my paycheck still hasn't come through. Like, even to that day, I was like, I feel so bad that I like have to take like $20 from like, the citrus like PayPal, and so I don't know. I think it's definitely one of those things that at least on my end where I'm hopefully when certain things like, because I want to like bring people on to like actually like employ them and like you know compensate them, just because there's a lot of really like hardworking people and people that like have great ideas. um but I just wouldn't feel right just kind of like, because realistically everything duty wise I can handle, but if I were to bring like someone to like A&R or like things like that, I would want them like compensated and like pay them, not just because it's like this is like, I don't know, experience points. I would want them to get experience points and like some money as well.
The real points
Yeah.
in their bank account. Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, DIY labels making money, I think that is it's like a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's like a
um,
dream.
yeah, it really is. And so unless there's like alternative sources for income, I mean, I think I know very few people who running the label is their only job unless they like want to do something else too.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so I mean that's it's difficult because like we're under the constraints of capitalism too, um, but at the same time we have that leverage over artists, and there's like a power dynamic there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so there's that to reconcile with. It's just like when our art is based on the work of other people.
Yeah, it's like definitely, I don't know. It's definitely just a lot to think about, and I guess not. I guess I don't know. And just seeing when other like entities or labels like when we see like the old ways like kind of coming up into like the public where it's like, yo, this is not working out, and like we see the inequality of like, I guess like what we deem the traditional big labels where it's like Warner, Sony, and et cetera, how like all of them are like filthy rich, and then you have like really like well-known blues artists still just kind of like you see like a GoFundMe come up, and it's like this and this legendary artist, like and it's like wow,
Hmm.
they still even own like their masters and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a GoFundMe for one of the members of Bad Brains for his rent.
Oh, HR, yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
one too.
it's like Bad Brains. I mean, like if there's any one band, one punk band that one black punk band that like anybody could name for a long time, it was Bad Brains, and then to see that, it's just like it's like a slap in the face, like back to reality type moment.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, living in a tangible world where money makes a huge impact on our everyday lives.
Yeah, so I don't know, I don't know, stuff like it just bums me out. And because when I was in Detroit, um we stopped by when we were like on the Crumb tour, some of us stopped by like the Motown house.
Hmm.
And in the tour they were telling us how like, at the time it was so like crazy to see a label and just everything like run by like black people. And so a lot of like white executives would pay radios to be like, do not play any of like, their songs. And so then Barry, like Gordon and everyone had to like, okay, we're gonna make our own like radio stations and like et cetera, et cetera. And because there was like a certain rule as to how many like singles a radio could play from like a label, and that's how they started so many other like sub labels to play like these disco songs or these like gospel songs or R&B songs. But
Hmm.
already from like at that point, just if it wasn't, I don't know, I guess like create like curators and stuff, it's just wild to hear stories where it's like the the big inequality of like who gets the money and who doesn't.
Definitely. Um, I have one more question for you. So what's something that you want to see in the future or want something to continue in the future? And it doesn't have to be rooted in reality.
Rooted in reality, and something that I want to see continue in the future,
Yeah, something that you want to see continue or just start happening.
start happening. I think what I would want to like to start happening more, where I think it's like slowly but surely, at least I've been like noticing, it's just like more empathy and like learning to like have empathy. Um, and not that I'm trying to. So the area that I grew up in for like elementary school and middle school was this area called Orange County, and it was like Confederate like war battlegrounds like everywhere. Like I remember like finding out what like things like like what are deemed slurs for like Latinx like people and like other things like that, and like hearing like the N word for the first time being like to like my friend in 8th grade, and I was just like, yo, like that was like my whole like environment for like a good while. But seeing people that I grew up with as children who had already that sort of hate instilled from them, I guess being now as young adult or like adults at this point, like not that it's like a pat in the back where I'm just like I'm seeing people like have empathy where it's like, you know what, like that is not okay, and like I guess unpacking some things, and I guess in general people like just having more empathy. I've been seeing a lot more of that. While, sometimes at least it's super easy to forget about that because there's so much like valid like hate like so much,
Mhm.
just not that the hate is valid, but we're seeing so many just like hate and violence. I don't know, I think sometimes we forget that, like, that there's empathy, like people like coming around. So I don't know, that's something that I hate being on Facebook, and that's just something I've been seeing, that people, I'm like, wow, you used to call me a wetback, but now you're just kind of being like, you know what, that's really like messed up. And I'm learning that there's reasons why there's people fleeing their countries to come over here and this and this. And maybe I'm just like, wow, I'm glad you get that now, but like, I don't know.
You are
So
a way more noble soul than I to be as gracious as you just said that. I would be so pissed. I hold grudges so long. I'm like, if y'all fucked with me as a kid and was racist to me, I remember.
no, yeah, I definitely do. And that's something that like it's been so hard to kind of like, I guess, get over, because it I had so much resentment. And I guess the boiling point for me was in 10th grade, when, so it's like in ninth grade I moved to Stafford, Virginia. And I don't know if you've heard of Stafford, but it's just predominantly very suburban, like,
Isn't it a pretty rich area?
yeah, it's a pretty rich area. And like in the house that I lived in, it's just kind of like, it was funny because people are like, oh, you live in this neighborhood, but it's like, yeah, but it's like 10 of us, 11 of us in like a house. And like my brother and cousin like lived in the basement. It was like an unfinished basement, and we just,
Mm.
but so I guess it's like that, being in that space but not having the same access or resources of the, like, majority of the kids. But I guess the boiling point for me was, I was like, yo, I don't want to always have to deal with these things or react with these things in a manner where it was just like, on my like, my mom finally was able to get me a car, and some of the kids in my neighborhood, I guess, were upset with it, so they like punched out like the tires, and they put like go back to Mexico on like the back. And I think that was like the boiling point for me, where it's like I ended up fighting the kid. But I guess
Fucking
like feeling,
good.
so it's like feeling after, where I'm just kind of like, I don't know, like I was on top of the world, but then at the same time just feeling just like, I don't want to always have to like deal with like these situations in like in a violent sort of manner, even though it was like justified. I was just like, I don't know. So all that shit was crazy. And I hated that I grew up in certain areas. So I don't know, that shit sucked.
Yeah, I mean, anti-blackness like and racism affects us all. It's not like these are like completely separate things. And yeah, I don't really have answers for these kinds of things, but I'm glad to be able to like explore and talk about these things with you, and also with Nancy at Grimalkin Records. Because yeah, we do have a particular position in DIY and in the music industry, and have we have all of our individual stories as well. But there is a greater framework for all of this, and yeah, things are changing, and so we're changing with it, and hopefully there is a lot more empathy in a lot of different ways coming up soon, and we can keep talking about them as well. So thank you so
Hmm.
much, Manny, for being on here.
Yeah, and thanks for again for having me, like you and Nancy. Like I really like everything that y'all do. And especially I remember I was looking back on the Facebook page where it was just like you commented like, oh, like welcome another like Virginia label, when like it just sort of started. So I was just like, heck yeah. Like when I was getting like involved with things in terms of like what other stuff is there in Virginia, like Quiet Ear was like one of the first ones where I'm like, yo, this is so cool.
Oh my god, thank you. It's so nice. Oh my god. Oh, well, thanks a lot. That like really means a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, your work has been a really big inspiration for me too. So lots of mutual respect going on.
Yeah, the
Um,
the real DIY heads in VA.
oh god, we're like talking now about like fuck, we don't know. We still don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, thank you again. This is just a check-in that this is Grim Year Wednesdays, hosted by Grimalkin Records and Quiet Year Records with a hint of Rumblepak. And we just talked with Manny from Citrus City and Underground Orchard.
We're gonna try to we're gonna shift over to Ishtar Senior. Also goes by Savan DePaul for other projects. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little sweaty, but that's just because I get like really like wound up because it's so cool and exciting, and I really could do this for like 2 hours, and so it's kind of a self-control thing to be like, we have to stop talking now. So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for being on the show.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, and you're gonna be doing a performance for us. Is there anything, any preface or anything about what you're about to perform?
What a lot of the stuff I'm about to perform is, let me just make sure, fire everything up, make sure it's all squared away. Yeah, we gotta make sure, don't want any more technical difficulty. But
Oh God.
a lot of what I'm gonna be playing is some material off of my first EP as Ishtar Senior is called Post Ascent Anana. And then some of the other material that I'm performing is from what will be my debut album as Ishtar Senior, which is coming next year. So.
Ooh, all right, whenever you're ready. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so let's go. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. And dice is the goal. Fire within the cold. I'm afraid of the crew. Can't thrive when bathing in dew. Operation on the crew and kill. Lord doses first. Got population then it's exit. Back to connection. Lord doses first. Population second. Then it's exit. That's it. Before you post statement, Leviticus post statement, not being this so sacred taken as lone maiden, students notwithstanding. I run the cohorts not standing, the most fantastic damage. Root focus first, revolution second, then it's exit, active connection. Root focus first, revolution second, then it's exit, active connection. The more you describe the quarter alignment, more worse than diamonds. You fucking pure just try it. The coons to me are just the fucking drug. So why is the influence falling? Destiny calls like the only beacon. No retreating, those attitudes you gotta go this evening. No need for judgment and insult. Never in my life have I been in this and never said before. But forgive the shit that I wrote, cause I go when I go why though crescendo is reaching. Rising with culture, focus like a leech, reaching. Like a leech. Green egg, like a leaf green egg, like a leaf green egg, like a leaf green egg. Young boy born, young boy born. Young boy grew with the pulse rain. Angels beat him with the sure wind. Birds like his humble crew. Cause that heavenly form. Love was where he was all bang. Something mind as alluring. But all just was something new. A beaming light that life's grateful, grateful. Who knew that was all fake? Johnson's flight was the wage war, and pointing guns in our face. Our face, our face. Was it the stress of street man? Was it my FTP and was it life starting to see finger? Either way, the image was corrupted, and we all sit wishing we could save him. Survivor skills sinking through the brainstem. The sun page left from basement. A beam of light that life's grateful, grateful. Who knew that was all day? Johnson's flight was the wage war. Upon Johnson's heart, hey, 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 hey. Point guns in our face. Point guns in our face. Get a light that light grateful, grateful. Yeah, yeah. I feel that light grateful. Oh, that was all fair. I'll be my life that life grateful. Oh, no, that was all fair. Was all fair. Was it the stress of the street and then? Was it the FTP anthem? Was it like starting to see banker? Either way, the image was corrupted, and we are sit wishing we could save it. Survivor skills taken through the brainstem. Send page rats from made men. Hold up. Hey. Let me tell you about the love lost. It was deeper than the dust ball. Bob fists and mops kicked the fuck off. It was a global chess game who are much lost. Let me tell you about the men lost. Hanging off by a headshot, and the children taken on by a third rock. From all the people from the bosses and despots. So many sources and actors to play, but guide your eyes and get to them this way. What do I gotta say? In an age of misinformation, slick shit the famous, the fake, the brave, and the framing. Let me to you, let me pray to you, let me give him a space, what can I say to you, let me say to you, let me pray to you, let me give him a space, what can I say to you, all the those who plan, work is not friend, don't you get a friend, dropping your nightstand. I ain't hyping on my hyping, I ain't hyping, not hyping, rivers of blood. What will I do about it? Rivers of blood. What will I do about it? I ain't hyping like a hype beast. I ain't hyping like a hype beast. What is the rivers of blood? What will I do about it? What is the rivers of blood? What will I do about it? Here in nosy landmine, and I use to transcribe, it's a full chance grind, and it's doing the mass time, and it's doing the man mind. In a nosy landmine, and I'll shoot the transcribe, travel through the man rights, and I'll shoot the transcribe. I was 20 AM, by the station glass bar, strike the dealer back bar, I can see the gas fire, I can see the gas. Hey, lots of people ran times, try to beat the rent line. Hey. Lots of people around the times try to beat me on the stride. Yeah. Newer one. Look at the new one. Stay focused, hey. Stay focused. focus. In order you wanna be loud like poets. In order to do so, you gotta stay focused. Hear all that bullshit that's logged inside of your head. If you don't try for goals, it'll fry your soul. Rely upon your deathbed. What those goals are, that's defined by you. Life leaves a high five, you will drive by you. Contracted at the flow. Must consume time, contracted at the road. They say live, you gotta focus. Now that's only in a neocon sense. But I'm in my own quest to decommodify sense. What does that mean in our current framework? How does it relate to our current behavior? Gathering data and constantly chasing answers. Catching restrainers with topics relating to material conditions of the life that we lead up. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. What's easy ain't best. What's right is the keeper. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. Sometimes it's Selena. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. What glitters ain't always gold, sometimes it's Selena. Sometimes it's Selena. Sometimes it's Selena. Just a quick little sound check. How are we sounding here? Awesome. Nice. Alrighty. Boy, you came as the process was divine. Boy became Ishtar. Oh, the process was divine. Hey. Ishtar the singer, you can sing that. I will call your mind, you cannot sing that one. Just like we go forward in my juice district. Up in my scoop kitchen. Who lost it when Jules can't sing that one. Can't sing that one. I'm also manning my stand over here, so. It's not a pressure, turn on the lights. Impatiently waiting for the beautiful when I think. Impatiently waiting for the beautiful when I think. My shit, apply that pressure, turn on the lights. Impatiently waiting for the beautiful and ugly. Impatiently waiting for the beautiful and boy became a star. All the process was divine. Boy became a star. All the process was divine. Boy became a star. The process was divine. Boy became a star. All the process was divine. Utopia, what the the sirens told me. That's what 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 the sirens told me. We got time for one or two more? Nice, nice. All right. Won't keep you here too long. We want to get to these questions. Yeah. Cyber sex market explosion. I confess I'm a bit hopeless. I just stop for your host stick. Shaq the remote is the quoting. And sack is the rap, never know this. Bring it back with your ass and the stroking. Real shab, nasty and potent. Hey. Hot killer, you stroking by your hands for. Cops belly for the smoking, but we chant more. Cops ready for the fucking to be planned for. Hot belly to the fucking at the chance for. Hot belly rolling, smack more. Top letting me see more than we rant for. Top heavy making more than just a rant store. Top heavy making more than just rant more. Top belly to the fucking at the chance for. Oh, what a tranquility. And seriously coming at centricity. Size and fertility. Feeling lively with the sheets, yeah. Feeling lively within the sheets, yeah. Feeling lively within the sheets, yeah. Feeling lively within the sheets. Order tranquility and a series of human eccentricity, yeah. That's your size and futility, yeah. Feeling lively within the sheets, feeling lively within the sheets, feeling lively within the sheets. Hey. Abandoning my stance, abandoning my physical form, taking my stance, abandoning my physical form, physical form. Everyone needs thug queers and nerds in their life. Plurality of experience forms the word of my life. Hey, forms the word of my life. Yeah. Forms the, hey. Everyone needs thugs, queers, and nerds in their life. Plurality of experience forms the word of my life. Hey. Forms the word of my life. Yeah. Working out what my words worth in this world. Cursing loud cause my curves nerves spinning world. Burners out cause I first serve to disturb. Murder child on my curb hurts to observe. Working out what my words worth in this world. Cursing loud cause my curves nerves spinning world. Burners out cause I first serve to disturb. Murder child on my curb hurts to observe. Now, what my words worth in this world. Cursing loud, cause my curves never spin a world. Burning out, cause I curse nerves to serve. Last song. ghosting. I just see it better so kid. It's my duty to bring you Ishtar. Set into the rubber and soaked in. Speed sacrifice humble. But it's just slaps in the face of us, bro. We're lifting counter and the top, bro. The bitch who died on the table humble. And the silver like 7 gates. All that ain't shit to demonstrate. Cause if you fail it anyway, you'll meet the bull of heaven's fate. This is the taming God is gone. And the faith is damn shot shit on. Look at all the chaos to all this cause. This shit's waxed and called and crossed. Warfare. Yeah. Warfare. Warfare. I'm up for warfare. What is warfare? Let's be for sure. Be for sure. We don't understand to be. I was lying to have a chance to see. If we're looking for a feeling of damage, he thought men would take the hand for we. Self-love is now instilled in me. Cost more through separability. Elohim didn't let us the masterfish. And the face didn't dare to bastard bitch. There is inspiration within Lord Joey. My queerness informs my artistic knowledge. Hey, there is inspiration within me. Joey. My queerness informs my artistic knowledge. Love me. Fire on the monthly. Now the bullets, please don't stop me. Stop me. Love me. All is over, you can stop me. Stop me. Depends on my clothes. You wanna snuff me, love me, love me, love me. Thank you. Whew. That is all I have for tonight. Thank you all for listening. My name is Ishtar Senior, once again, aka Savan DePaul.
Woo! Fuck yeah.
Let's go.
How are you feeling?
Feeling all right, especially after performing, getting those jitters back and getting over the nerves of it always happens pre-performance, but yeah.
You did it. You did it. It's great seeing you like dance and like vibe to your own music, which is great. I mean, it's worth vibing to. So I'm just the enthusiasm is infectious.
Yes, my shit is a vibe. So I mean,
yeah, definitely. How's your day been? What have you been up to?
Day's been pretty good. I've mostly been just taking care of personal health and fitness stuff. My personal health just been kind of up and down over the past month and a half now, so I'm just making sure I'm taking care of myself and checking in with affinity groups and collectives today. But mostly I've just been taking it to myself, just taking it nice and slow.
Nice. What's something that makes you feel good, or like a nice thing that you're doing?
Honestly, me just like I've kind of been getting back into just watching shows and movies and stuff, and like tapping into that just tapping into that side of art, because I have not kept up with shows or movies or anything for in a long time. It's been a while because I just have my computer, so I just sit back, just binge watch some stuff, and just kind of unravel and unwind. I feel like that's really important for me because I'm super fixated on stuff a lot. So I really need to find those times to relax.
Yeah, definitely. What kinds of stuff have you been watching?
I kind of started doing this getting back into watching movies and TV. I started with action movies. Martial arts, biopics and stuff like that. Then went on to documentaries, and I'm kind of on to old kind of sitcoms now. So we're weaving our way through.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I have been doing the same thing, actually, using like TV and movies and stuff to like unwind, and it feels really great just being able to like
Yeah.
escape for a little bit. And I feel
Mhm.
like that is the different like genres you said have also been very similar to mine, because like action movies are just like you get into the thrill of it, and then for like
Yeah,
mysteries,
yeah.
like your mind goes about like the conspiracy, the inner workings of the mystery and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And so it's nice to just kind of be like swept away.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing up that taking care of yourself is like work. I mean, I feel like that's what I get from what you're saying, is that like it's intentional. Um, what
Hmm.
kinds of stuff do you like to do for like self-care, or yeah, yeah.
Um, Mostly kind of my self-care was mostly for the first like month was just me just having to rest in front of a fan because it's hot in my house. So luckily I have an AC now, so luckily I'm taking care of that. But
Mm.
at first it was just kind of making sure I was just hydrated. Hydrated was eating, which is eating something, and making sure I was getting plenty of rest. And now as I'm kind of getting more into the routines of doing kind of self-care stuff, now now I'm doing more physical training. Now I'm going to do more stretching, make sure I'm eating healthier, um, make sure it's lots of water instead of just whatever I can find. You know, just base things like that, and that's kind of the framework of it all.
Yeah, definitely. It's I feel like there's a
Also,
lot of
also making also making sure to log off social media every once in a while. Take breaks from social media. That's important.
oh yeah, but that takes self-control.
Generally, yeah. I think I'm pretty. I've gotten pretty good at. I've gotten pretty good at this. So
Yeah, you are a
yeah,
braver
I'm
soul
not
than I. No, but that's interesting to hear the different kinds of ways that you take care of yourself. And um I think it's like a common thread between them is like the basic tenets of survival without dying. Just like yeah, I feel like that is a nice like baseline, but it's interesting that I don't know, different people have different definitions of what self-care could be. I mean, some people it's like a bubble bath, or
right, right,
um
right.
a massage, or going to a show,
Yeah,
or making music. There's like so many different kinds of things in there, so that's pretty interesting. um
yeah.
I
I
think
would
I
throw.
noticed.
I would throw making. I would. Yeah. I would throw making music as part of my self care ritual as well. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're making music, I guess on that vein of making music for self-care, um how do you think that like translates over from, I guess, your personal life over into these sounds and words that you're putting together?
Um, that's actually really good question. I guess like how does music as therapy kind of go into music as far as like actual like what I'm putting out there as art. Um, for me, it's like the process. I really enjoy the process of creating it, of actually creating that piece of art that I have, and some stuff I don't release. There are a handful of stuff that I just don't release, and I just kind of vibe on my own to it, and because it's kind of therapeutic to me, and as well just kind of the process of me recording and writing and arranging stuff, especially as it starts coming together, is something that I take a lot of personal like joy in, and that's something I cherish a lot.
Yeah, definitely. With the ongoings of the past handful of months, I feel like the kind of frameworks for what self-care means, and kind of like the structures and ways people can be creative have
Mhm.
shifted. Would you be able to talk about how things have kind of shifted for you over the past handful of months?
Yeah, for sure. Mostly just having not being able to perform live. That's been mostly that's kind of the big thing as far as my creative streak. Um, so it's for me having to adjust to kind of doing things differently as far as setting up things, and like especially because I have I'm on the autistic spectrum too, so of course I'm like hyper rotated and used to doing things in a certain routine and a certain style, so it forces me to kind of having to do do things, structure things in a little slightly different ways, because even though I'm someone who likes, I don't mind being like kind of quiet and kind of do my own thing, but also I have to kind of change my routine. Like, how am I going to like do live shows, for example? Like, how am I gonna you know communicate with people as far as like doing some sort of art, because I can't go out and chill with a bunch a few people, just kick back, spit a cipher or whatnot, or have a beat session, just kind of small meditative things of that sort. You're gonna have to like technological ways of working around that.
Yeah, definitely. And it it sounds like that has also created a shift in the way that you write music, like structure wise, because there is the types of collaboration that's like possible with the current technology is just it's like really affecting the way that people are recording and producing their own music.
Yeah.
How has that been, just kind of working more solo?
It's I guess the thing, honestly, throughout it's weird because throughout this, I feel like throughout the last 2 months, especially the last 2 months of being cooped up in quarantine, I feel like I've done a lot more collaborative work than almost ever. Yeah, almost ever, honestly. Just like because just making sure I'm connected with people, and just make sure just randomly communicating with people, and just trying to stay attuned to what people need and what's going on in the world or whatnot, and just trying to stay connected to my friends and folks and my comrades and stuff. That the conversation comes up like, hey, do you want to make something? I'm like, sure. We're, sending emails back and forth and kind of doing that, and I end up with a lot of projects that are collaborative projects. And I've already released one collaborative album back in May with a producer, and I have at least 5 more on the way. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and not to mention just random like one-off singles and collabs and features and stuff. So
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's really great to see that, like, those connections that you had before. I think it's like similar to what Rusty was saying before about kind of building on those like existing relationships with people, and like not necessarily having to meet new people to do these projects, but rather just reaching out to your network of people who already support you, who you already have that connection with. So
yeah.
that's really neat to hear about. And I'm glad that being physically distant from people hasn't, or I guess has had interesting and like fun impacts on like the art that you produce. I mean, whether it's like stuff that you put out as like an album or just stuff that you create for fun, whatever really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat. Would you say that it's like affected your goals? Like, or I guess maybe I should preface before that. What do you see as your goals for, I guess, your musical career?
Honestly, this is something that's really I actually was thinking about, just randomly just popped in my head a few days ago. The current the current material conditions that we're all living in currently in this world today has really like made me kind of like has really made me interrogate and navel gaze as to what I want to do as far as music goes. How I want to like, how do I define success or whatnot? It just so happens that one of the songs I performed in the set was me talking about like, how do I like decommodify sense? How do I define this in the current framework? Like, just funny how that popped up. But I guess what I would really like want to do was I want to like I guess one of the things that I like feel like pride in doing is being part of being part of a like collective and stuff like that. Like I love the idea of the collective or the like independent entity of that sort, where it's the people that are, we're kind of be compensated for what we do, but we're also fostering a community of like really dope artists and whatnot. And that's one of the reasons I really love Grimalkin. I'm also part of a Black art collective called the Bad Apple Commune, and that one is based here in Philly, and we've been doing a lot, especially over the last year or so, where we've been kind of handling not just through musical art but through like visual art as well, kind of building a little community around around us in Philadelphia, and kind of getting people's interest and stuff like that. So I really feel like that model of that model of like camaraderie and just kind of like horizontal structuring around like this, like the common not goals, but the art, like the common thing of art, or music or whatnot, or whatever medium you want it to be. I feel like that is the kind of model that I want to I want to go for, from here on out.
That's awesome. It's really great to hear the intertwining between your ideals and how you structure what you put out into the world, and more in that aspect. Ooh, thank you, Nancy. There's an article on Bad Apple Commune. That's really cool.
Yep.
Yay. So I'll link that too so everybody can see it. But that's really neat. What was I going to say? We were talking about your goals. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we were talking about your goals. So it's, okay. I remember what my train of thought was. Yeah, it seems like your goals kind of intertwine your personal ideals and ethics with the ways that you produce and present what you create to the world. And I know something that you've done is, you have multiple projects. One of them is called Ishtar Senior, which is what you performed tonight as. And then also your name, Savan DePaul. So what made you decide to have two different routes for that?
So I guess I got this kind of at first, I started thinking about this probably late 2017. So what I really wanted to do was I wanted to start, like, I had the idea of kind of dividing, kind of taking kind of the two big like aspects of my music and kind of splitting them into two personas and then taking them, just into different directions. And because as Savan DePaul, at my real name or whatnot, the music that I make is a bit more rapidy, a lot more political in frame, and as well as Ishtar Senior. But the distinction that I wanted to make was that I wanted to have something where I kind of can look at big picture things. Like I can literally look at some like geopolitical analysis and like look at the whole world, what's going on or whatnot, and do whole big critiques or whatnot and put my view on this, and this. But for me, I personally also just wanted to like have something where I can explore my own personal identity, especially for me figuring out my queer identity, my sexual identity, whatnot, and kind of my perception and my my understanding of gender and whatnot, just me as a person. And that's something that I wanted to explore, and I wanted to do that within kind of the vein of this kind of art pop futuristic R&B thing. And I felt like in a way the two styles that those two paths that we're going down to also were different stylistically. So I figured that it'll be, I could do this style over here and this style over here.
That's really neat. That's awesome. Rusty has a question about some of your lyrics.
Oh yeah. I had a question about
Sure.
a song that you like performed. I think it was like maybe like third to last or something. And then like there was a lyric that I couldn't make out, and you said something like, "That's what the blank told me." I just was wondering what was in the blank.
Oh, that song was the song was called Ishtar as a Boy / Sirens Fly, and so that line was, "That's what the sirens told me. That's what the sirens told me."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm blending a lot of mythological concepts or whatnot into the Ishtar Senior project too. So
I was kind of asking because I thought that you were making like this like Star Trek reference, and I was like, that's literally I'm sorry I interject in the middle. I thought it was like a Deep Space Nine for a minute, and that's why I was asking. But that's all I wanted to know.
Gotcha. All good, all good.
I was
that's
like,
a good question.
maybe, you know, maybe we're gonna like talk about something.
I mean, it's Rusty. It sounds like you just want to talk about Star Trek. Which I mean, we can talk about it. I don't know anything about it though, so there's not really anything I can offer.
You know, I'm finding I've been on the Reddit thread. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna derail of this ill. I just
No. Okay, no. We're gonna tie this all together. We're gonna tie this all together somehow.
okay.
Okay. So we were talking about how there's like there's a lot of imagery for like mythology. I think that's interesting because like I feel like your sound incorporates like a lot of like ideas of like futurism, but then with like the juxtaposition of like history and like, you know, like long time ago history, not just like our recent like American history and whatnot. That's like really interesting to see those ideas put together. I think something else that does that is Star Trek.
Okay, so the reason why I asked though is because I thought that you were saying that's what I'm not even gonna say it because it's too nerdy. Anyway, it's I thought it was a reference.
Not off and then not tell us.
Yeah. Now I'm curious.
I thought it was a changelings, a reference to changelings, which are both like a mythological concept, but also a specific Star Trek concept that is still sort of mythological. Yeah.
I've referenced. It's funny because I referenced changing in another like it's another Ishtar Seer song that has yet to be released, but I do reference changelings.
There we go.
So you know.
Sick.
I know a little bit of I know a little bit of Star Trek. I wasn't I don't
I think I did, yeah. Thanks, Star Trek. But okay, I will let you guys get back to talking.
No, it's fine. That's really interesting. I mean, it's like it's all coming around. I think something that we were talking about before we actually started the interview is how, I mean, I knew Rusty, but I didn't know Ishtar Senior, the person only of the project through like the Grimalkin sampler and like through those works. And then the other two people, they also hadn't met, but then also through the sampler and through other like Grimalkin networks, it just all has come together. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that it's kind of like all come into fruition into us three being in a room together. And I mean, that's like unintentional or whatever, but it's just neat. So, I mean, yeah.
For real.
It's cool. I think both of y'all brought up like I think we described it in like 3 different ways now as mutual aid, like lateral structure and horizontal something. I forgot the second word that was used for that, but I just thought those were really interesting because I feel like I haven't actually heard or thought about it in that way before. And so I guess kind of relating that back into like how those music projects are created. I would imagine those kinds of ideals and structures would manifest in the music and how that works as well. And then I see how like the messaging and genre, they kind of have their own areas. So that way you can kind of divvy up and like show them in a way that makes sense, like show them in a way that you want them to be seen. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
I didn't really have a question in there. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Just wanted to tell you, I guess.
I feel like that's a pretty decent analysis.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the running theme from this show has been like relying on community support, and I think reliance has like such like a negative connotation, but like the way that we're using it, you know, horizontally, mutual aid, laterally, those are really meaningful ways to engage our time and energy.
I also think I think I don't know. I guess I just think it's kind of like an interesting parallel, kind of like what you were talking about with like Ishtar having like this like kind of like avenue to address like your like personal shit through like your art and music and like something that's like established within like DIY culture, and kind of like what me and Judy were talking about earlier, and just being like, you know, like where is that like place for like, I don't know, where's that place for like your personal shit within like this whole organizing thing that you're doing, this thing you're creating for like other people's consumption and stuff. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe Woven In has a question. I'm gonna read it aloud. Are you from Philly, Ishtar? And yes. And have other artists or being in Philly influenced your sound?
Hi, Mariah, how you doing? Yeah, I'm obviously from Philly, but yeah, a lot of artists that are from Philly have influenced on a lot of the work that I'm doing. If anyone has heard of More Mother, she's an amazing kind of multifaceted artist, poet, activist, artist. Like she's really, really, really fucking talented, and she's had a great 2020 so far, and like she's a huge influence on me. Also, the person who I released a collaborative album with back in May, Madam Data, they're back in Singapore now. Unfortunately, they were in Philly for like a decade, and now they moved back to Singapore. But kind of it's sad, but yeah, they had a like huge influence on me, especially for me, kind of learning the ins and outs of like experimental music and composition and whatnot, and that avenue, and just they helped me look at like art through a different lens and whatnot. And also there's just a ton of rappers and R&B singers and pop singers in Philadelphia and the underground, and there are might be a bit more known or just really, really dope, and like just kind of commingling throughout the Philly underground scene, just taking in what everyone's doing, and just like there's just so much talent that goes on.
Awesome. Thanks for
Hopefully
answering.
that answers it.
Yeah. I have one more question. Is that okay?
Right.
Cool. So this is this is a two-part question because I actually meant to say two questions. I'm going to ask you two questions. One is if, just kind of a general, if there's anything that you would like to say for the kiddos at home. And then the other part is how can we support you?
All right. I guess one thing that I would like to say is anyone who makes art or anything like that, just kind of find things they do that make you happy, especially during these times. We need our self-care, we need our recuperation, we need those periods of time where we can like re-energize, like I suggest people like find something that that we can like really do. And I guess also just kind of like I guess encourage people to kind of think about, as things are changing right now in a really, really fast way, just kind of think and like enable gaze as far as like, okay, what's how really interrogate how you want things to be in the future. Like, what do you want life to be like in the future, and then kind of just like go towards that and try to at least do that little something where you kind of kickstart that, And as far as where you can support me, Savan DePaul and Ishtar Senior, both of them, I put my music everywhere, so you can find me. SavanDePaul.bandcamp.com is my only Bandcamp, so that's just where everything is. And also support the Bad Apple Commune too. We're doing work out here, And also shout out to Grimalkin Records too. Shout out Grimalkin.
Yeah, definitely. It's like we just gotta second that shout out to Grimalkin for definitely being integral in making this show happen. But then also everyone in this room right now, I feel like is a part of Grimalkin in one way or is in Grimalkin, and then me. So it's just really nice. And just talking about community and the ways that we relate to each other. in the ways that we're building on things that we were already working at for a very long time. It's really nice to hear all the work that y'all are doing. Just as a reminder, this has been Grim Year Wednesdays. We're raising money for Virginia Anti-Violence Project, who does work to support LGBTQ plus survivors of violence across Virginia. Lots of great stuff happening all around, and lots of great people just to make all of our lives better. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.